Fifth time. Yep.
Good afternoon. I'd like to call the meeting to order of the Sutter Butte Flood Control Agency, April 10, 2024. Tara, would you do the roll call, please?
Matt Conant,
Present.
Bruce Johnson,
Here.
Todd Kimmelshoe,
Here.
Bo Shepard,
Here.
Mark Boomgarden,
Here.
Wade Kirchner,
Here.
Charlie Hoppin, Al Montna, Lackfair Gog, Mike Morris,
Here.
Chris Schmidl.
Here.
Thank you.
Looks like we have a quorum. Okay, we'll do the flag salute. Please join me. Salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next on our agenda is public comment, and anyone can come and provide public comment to this body, either online, I believe. Anything online? No, none online. We don't have online comment, not anymore. Okay. Anybody in the audience like to make public comment? Are you sure? Okay. Last chance. All right. No public comment. So we'll move on to the consent calendar. And there's one item on our consent calendar, and that is the approval of minutes. So does anybody want to pull that item or add
Move to approve.
Move to approve. Thank you, Matt.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Yes.
I'd like to abstain because I missed the last month's meeting, but I read the minutes that are fine.
Okay. Thank you, Lackford. Did you note that, Tara? Okay, thank you very much. Next items and possible approval of these items, right? Not necessarily an action item for sure, but I will turn it over to Michael Bissett to talk about our new term sheet for the Sutter Butte Flood Control Agency agreement with SJAFCA.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Items 2 and 3 are action items. So this is item 2, approval of a term sheet for the Sutter Basin Flood Risk Reduction Project sale of federal credit from SBUFCA to SJAFCA. I've been briefing the board for the past year on this topic. We've been in negotiations with SJAFCA for quite a long time. We thought we had a deal in place, and that fell apart when they started crunching the numbers in a more refined manner. So we had to go back to the drawing table, and it was a pretty long and drawn out process. But what it came down to was SJAFCA's ability to pay. Tara, could you go to the next slide, please? So essentially, it's their ability to pay for the credit. And there were some terms that we've agreed upon, and what's before you today is essentially a term sheet that both agencies will approve. So I'm taking it to the board this month, and Chris Elias, my counterpart at SJAFCA, is taking it to his board in May. He wasn't able to get it onto his agenda this month. Essentially, the essence of the deal is SJAFCA is going to pay 60% of the total value of the credits to SBUFCA. So right now we're estimating the value of that credit is about $28.9 million. And the Army Corps of Engineers, they are truing up that credit. So it's up to them to review all of the information we have submitted to them, all of our project costs, essentially, from design and construction and permitting and real estate acquisition and construction management. So they look at all of those costs for the project that SBUFCA and the state advanced ahead of the Corps. And we valued it at 28.9. So they're going to true that up. It should be within, it should be very close to that number when all is said and done. And SJAFCA has agreed to pay 60% of that. So that that number stays true to form, it'll result in a little over $17 million to this agency. And the other deal is they need to pay that over time. So we've structured it as a 19-year payment program. That's kind of how they ran their cash flow model for their project. They think it's going to take the Corps about 19 years to complete the projects. They have more than one construction project that's going to be multiple years and multiple federal appropriations. So they think it's going to take about that much time.
And there's no interest charge.
There's no interest, no. So the other,
Yeah, I know. I know that. I know.
didn't pay anything for it.
right, yeah,
The fact that we're not getting interest is kind of no foul to me.
exactly. And we've also agreed on a minimum payment. So essentially, Sajafka is going to pay Sabufka the value of the credit they use each and every year. So it could be more than 900,000. We could get a check for 2 million. We could get a check for 1 million. But we've agreed that it would never be less than 900,000 on an annual basis. So if they paid us $2 million in year one, essentially they wouldn't have to make a payment in year two because they've upfronted that money. But as we go through time, it has to be a minimum of $900,000 over that time period. So in essence, for this agency, it's a positive cash flow into the future for 19 years. Now, I know I've briefed each and every board member on this deal. I think I've answered everybody's questions, but essentially, I'm going to stop there. That's the end of my presentation. That's the essence of the term sheet that we're looking to get the board to approve this month. I will come back at a future meeting this summer for the board to approve the actual credit transfer agreement. So it'll take these terms and put it into a credit transfer agreement. And we still need a little bit of information back from the Corps. That's why it's going to take 2 to 3 months to refine that additional agreement. But essentially, this is the terms that we're agreeing upon, and that's what's before the board today. So I'm going to pause there and turn it back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, yeah, I thank you for that explanation, and thank you for contacting each one of the board members. And I think both Charlie and Al had a good point, and I may let them expound on that this will cover our operating costs and more for the next 19 years, basically.
Yeah, that was what really sold me on this when we negotiated the first deal. We thought we'd really done a great job on it until we realized they didn't have the cash to pay for it. To Matt's earlier point, there is no interest to this, but we don't have an investment in it. It was something that was essentially given to us, so we don't have a means for it to be accruing interest any other way. So it's kind of an anomaly there. But the thing that really struck me was the fact that our fixed operating costs are budgeted in the neighborhood of $750,000 a year. Sometimes they're a little more, sometimes they're a little less if we've got extra consultants. But essentially, in the future that all of us will be here, this is going to pay for our fixed overhead, and paying for your fixed overhead is a big deal to me. So that was really a selling point to me on it.
I think too, Todd, that we should congratulate the team for, Charlie was involved in that West Federal River group negotiating this.
Agreed.
I mean, this is found money. These credits are tough to get rid of. Spread them out that long and make the organization financially solid is really a gift to this community. So, well done.
Yes, well done.
Yep.
Other questions, comments?
Move to approve.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. These guys don't mess around here in Sutter County. Okay, motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Tara, I don't think you needed a voice count on that. I mean, a roll call count. Okay, good. All right, with that, we will move on to the second item. Authorize the executive director to submit an application for a U.S. Bureau of Reclamation Phase 2 sediment removal project.
Okay, I'm going to have Chris Fritz, our Director of Engineering, make this presentation. Chris?
Yeah, hello, members of the board. Good to see you all today. I'll just have a very brief introduction for this item. This item is a resolution to authorize the executive director to submit a grant application and, if successful, execute an agreement with the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation for the Phase 2 effort of our Yuba City sediment removal project. As you know, we've been diligently pursuing funding to try to fund that next phase of construction, which would remove the excess sediment buildup that is accumulated there at the confluence of the Feather and Yuba rivers. This grant application is requesting $10 million from the Bureau to remove about 250,000 cubic yards of material, targeting that specific island that is forming there just downstream of the confluence. At this time, staff is recommending the board approve the resolution. And so with that, I'll turn it back over to the chair just to see if there's any comments or questions.
Through the chair.
Yes.
How did we come up with that dollar amount?
It's the maximum amount of funding that we can request. And we did note in the application that the project is able to be scaled if the Bureau were to award a smaller amount. But they allow up to $10 million requests, and so we went right up to that limit.
Thank you.
Good question, Wade. Other questions, comments?
What are the odds? I mean, I know you know you're going to get that question. So what's your feeling? What's your gut? What's your crystal ball telling you?
I'm going to be optimistic. Yeah, I don't know. It depends on a lot of factors and who submits applications for what. And I've been wrong before on applications sometimes that I think are long shots, so I don't want to discount any of our effort.
Okay.
I'm all for getting that island out of there.
Yeah, I want to get it out. I'm just trying to figure out a way to do it.
You know, I do want to highlight too, thank you, Chris. We do have another grant application in with NOAA Fisheries for the same project. And we're hoping to hear on that application this summer. But we don't know, I don't have a crystal ball on that one either. But on that particular application, we did work with NOAA staff members to actually, they helped us refine our application. So we had several meetings and they helped us better our application. So I'm feeling better on that one. This one's more of a long shot, I believe, than the NOAA Fisheries. But like Chris said, we're going after any opportunity that's out there that makes sense for this agency.
Bassett, with that one, that'd be the second NOAA grant, right, that we have approved?
No, that's just the first one. That would be the first one we would get.
Oh, I thought we already got that one.
No, we submitted it last year. We were hoping to hear this spring, but we haven't heard yet. We're hoping to hear this summer.
That's not the one that North State Guides helped get us?
No, that was through the state resources agency,
Okay.
the first grant.
All right, I'm
Correct.
sorry.
Yep.
Almanda?
Mike, I'd encourage you to keep going with this sediment if you can. If we can continue to get the money.
Yeah, we're hoping to convince these agencies that this is an important project. It not only from fish benefits, there's also navigation, public safety. That island's just growing and it's going to get vegetated and it's become much worse over time. So we're hoping to eliminate that.
That lowers the head on that river. I mean, it's important.
Yeah.
More you can do it. As far as you can go all the way to Verona, as far as anything else.
Through the chair.
So give this Butte County boy a little bit of history. Wasn't that island removed a while back? And now it's never been removed. It's been there for
No, it's only been there since the 2017.
Well, it was there. It was there back
That's when
then,
it was
right?
established.
2017 event,
Yep.
yeah, the
Made it
Oroville
worse.
event made it much worse.
Wonderful state of California.
It's Yuba County's way of growing.
Okay.
And most of that dirt came from Butte County, by the way. We need to send it back. Yeah.
No, through
That's what I figured.
the chair.
Well, it's yes.
I did have a question, and this is BW before Wade. About 3 years ago, there was a $5 million grant. So was that amount requested, or was that the amount that was awarded out of $10 million?
The $5 million grant was a grant that we received from California Natural Resources Agency, and that covered removal at Live Oak. So the project we did up there to remove sediment and invasives, and then at Yuba City also. I'm honestly trying to remember
Wasn't there a third one on the other
the
side?
Star Bend, which we're
Yeah.
still coordinating
Right,
with
and that's part of the
Yuba
same money,
County,
though.
because Yuba County's in the lead on that project, and they're looking to go to construction this year on that one. But they are the lead agency spearheading the one on that side of the river.
So, say we do get the grant. What are we looking at, a couple years from now?
No, if we were to get it this year, no, we could put plans and specs together very quickly, go out to bid, and it would be for next year's construction season.
We can't wait too long because the permit's only good for what, another 2 years?
Through 2026, yeah.
2 years.
So 2025 would be the ideal year to get this done.
And all the gravel will just be piled next to the river.
Well, we would coordinate with City of Marysville again and put it into their wastewater, their abandoned wastewater ponds to help them fill those up.
Got it.
Todd, I'll move approval.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hey, fantastic. Those were only 2 action items, correct?
That's
Okay,
correct.
We'll move on to item 4, presentation and file monthly financial report. Sean, good to see you. You're somewhat of a new face, but we're glad you're here. The gentleman we had before you, I believe his name was Seth. Yeah, he was pretty stoic. He was a typical bean counter. So I know you've got some exciting new ways to present this information to us. Is that right?
Well, excitement is relative, I think.
Okay.
But well, let's get started.
Looks the same.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, members of the board. So this report, we have solidified financials through the end of February, and that's what we're reporting on. So we had a working capital balance ending at 25.6 million. Pending to date, it's about 25.8 million or 25.9 million. Breaking up our revenues, the operating fund revenue, 750,000, which is the budgeted amount for each year. And our capital revenue is 3.8 million, 3.86 million. Forgive me, that 4.1 million to date is wrong. It's actually 8.1 million. Total difference of about 3.3 million. We can break down between 2 sources of funding, both the assessment revenue that we've received to date, as well as state reimbursement payments. State reimbursement payments on the right here total about 1.4 million. And you can see here listed as well all the active grants in which we're expecting reimbursement on, listed there. And then breaking down a little further, actually, forgive me here. Oop. Oop. How do you do the light? Oh, it's the top one, isn't it? Yeah. This, back. Oh boy. What happened here? Help me out. Sorry. Then can we go back to the slide? Keep going. Next one. Yep, that one. So I gave a little excitement here. You can see down at the bottom here on the right where it's broken up between capital payments that we're expecting at that 1.4 million, and then the assessment revenue we've received to date is 1.9 million. Excuse me, that's what we are expecting. All right, so then breaking down our expenditures, 2.1 million through February is what we spent for the fiscal year to date. And almost 3 million we actually have both paid and pending. And it's broken up here by the various capital projects. Our next revenue service is due, debt service payment is due in October. We just made a recent one in April, and that, we've got a new, or relatively new financing source through, it's U.S. Bank now. It used to be Union Bank, I believe, before. And Union Bank, we had some issues actually in timing to meet that obligation, that April 1st obligation to make payments. Now we actually we do receive, one major benefit is we receive those invoices for payment on the debt service well in advance. And then just going into, after February, post-February, into current time, we're just working through for the various grants that we have, additional packages for reimbursement that we kind of bunch together, and we expect to submit for reimbursement end of this month, beginning of May. And then one of the things, requirements on our debt service is that yearly we have to release an annual continuing disclosure report. And that gets posted onto the EMA website, and it sort of looks like this. And you could find all those reports that are posted, and we've met that obligation. That's it. Any questions?
Questions, Sean? Okay, I've got one question. Okay, now our new budget that you'll be presenting to us at the next meeting or the following meeting in June.
In May.
In May, okay. It will not show the 900,000 that we're going to get from SJAF.
Correct.
That would be in the next year.
That'll be next.
Are we under any obligation, because we're getting that extra money, to reduce the amount that we get from our the counties and the cities that provide?
Well, I mean, it's up to the board, but we still have a lot of projects yet to be built, and we don't have enough money for them. So it wouldn't be to this agency's benefit to do that.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we're under no obligation to
Correct.
collect more money than we, never mind. Okay, thank you. All right, thank you, Sean. That was excellent. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
All right, now I'll turn that back over to Michael Bissett for presentation of and file programs and project update and all that good stuff.
All right. Well, thank you again, Mr. Chairman. So we have a lot to report this month. Lot of things happening. So in terms of closing out our Feather River West Levee Project 1, Andrea and I are still working on closing out that environmental mitigation item that we're still dealing with the resources agencies on. This month, I reported, I believe, last month on the cultural resources mitigation. So we're working with the Enterprise Rancheria tribe to repatriate materials that were removed from the levees back, 5, 6, 7 years ago when we were building our levee improvements up in Butte County. And those materials were studied by our archaeologists. That was part of the mitigation for the project, to study what was there from a cultural resources standpoint and make reports. And now we're working with the tribe to repatriate that material back in the similar location where it was found. So we have met with the Enterprise Rancheria members. We've identified a site that we're going to utilize, and that work will begin probably later this month. We had to wait till flood season was over, and so I'll be coordinating that activity. So we've had really good cooperation with the Enterprise Rancheria tribe. We're also closing out our right-of-way transfers. We still have 2 outstanding properties that we're acquiring, just minor paperwork issues that we're completing, and then we'll be completing that work. What I highlighted here in red, I've been talking about the relief well issues we had in Reach 7, which is south of Yuba City, and at the UP Railroad tracks. We had 2 relief well sites, and we had some issues with them. So we've been coordinating closely with Levee District 1 and their general manager, Drew Stresser. We are going to go out to repair the manhole structures themselves that house the relief wells so that they're centered above the relief well itself. So for future maintenance, it'll make it a lot easier for future maintenance. So that work we're hoping to do this summer. So we're advancing plans, and we'll go out to bid and complete that work. On a longer term note, we'll be monitoring those wells because some of them filled with what appeared to be sediment, and it turns out it was biological in nature. So Sabufka will continue to monitor those wells, go out and look at them on a quarterly basis, see if there's sediment building up, and then come up with a cleaning plan, and we're working again with LD1's engineers on that. So I'll keep the board apprised of this project. Feather River West Levee Project 2, which is the lower Feather River Tudor flood risk reduction project. We're advancing our design process and permitting process. We're planning construction next year, so that's the big project that'll be going to construction next year from a levee improvement standpoint. Chris Fritz and I are meeting closely with the Army Corps for them to process our 408 approval that allows us to go in and alter a federally authorized levee. And that process takes a long time. So there's a lot of different reviews that the Corps does. They look at all our plans, our permits. There's a Section 106, which is a cultural resources process that needs to occur. That involves the State Historic Preservation Office. So sometimes those processes take a long time. So we're working closely with the Corps so that we get all our permits in hand. So basically this time next year, our contractor will be on board and we'll break ground in May of next year. That's the schedule that we have. Sutter Bypass levee repair, that's the 5.2 mile project. That one's following Tudor flood risk, so it's not at the same schedule. We're at about a 30% design level. We're targeting 2026 construction at the earliest. That's assuming we get a funding source for construction, which we don't have at this point in time. We did apply for construction funding through FEMA. They have two grant programs. One is the BRIC, which is the Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities, or BRIC. And then the FMA is the Flood Mitigation Assistance Grants. So we've applied to each one of those for $50 million for the construction of that project. So we're hopeful that we'll hear something maybe later this year or early next. But like I said, we won't be ready for construction until 2026 for that project. Next slide, please. So we are still advancing City of Orrville levee repair. Essentially right now we're looking for funding. That's what we've been doing. We've been having meetings with our state lobbyists, not lobbyists, our state assemblymen and senators who represent the region, looking for available funding, also coordinating closely with DWR contacts for whatever available funding there might be out there from maybe past years that had funding programs that had money, that maybe there's a little bit left over. As everybody knows on this board, the state budget is not in a good way fiscally right now. And they're making a lot of cuts just to make budget for this year. So right now we haven't identified any funding for that project. We're still hopeful that the United States Army Corps of Engineers will accept the feasibility study application that was submitted by the city. That would be 100% federal money to do a feasibility study to analyze the levee deficiencies and come up with repair alternatives. But we haven't heard anything yet. I'm hopeful that we'll hear something this month. That's kind of what we've been hearing in DC is when we'd hear a decision. So as soon as I hear something, I'll put that out there. For our federal project, the 5 mile project that the Army Corps built, we called it Tudor Road to Cypress. That work's been completed for quite some time now. We're taking on the punch list repairs to the Feather Water District facilities. We have started our design plans for that work. We'll be targeting later this year to be in construction to make those repairs. So and we're coordinating that closely with Feather Water District staff. And then lastly on this slide is the federal crediting with SJAFCA. So the board approved the term sheet. We're working very closely with the Army Corps to complete all of the federal credit package reviews and to get all of that completed. And we'll be looking at signing the project partnership agreement amendment later this year. We won't sign that until both boards approve the term sheet and also the credit transfer agreement. So, because we need to have those in place before we sign the project partnership agreement, because that basically officially transfers our credit. Next slide, please. Okay, so these are our planning and some other design projects, non-levy. OWA Robinson's Riffle project, so that planning process is fully underway. We've held 2 workshops to date. We're advancing towards identifying a project that we can advance with our grant money from CDFW that I've highlighted here, $2.1 million. So we have that grant available to advance design and permitting. We need agreement from DWR and CDFW on what that project is, and we're getting very close to defining that. Also, in close proximity to Thermalito Afterbay Boat Ramp and Campground project, excuse me, we're getting close to a 90% design level. We're advancing that now. We've held really good meetings with CDFW and DWR to help us advance that design, getting all their input, and we're looking at construction for that project next year. So we'll be in construction on our Tudor flood risk reduction levee improvement project. We'll be in construction on this project next year, in addition to the couple of minor projects I mentioned later this year. So we got a lot of construction work coming up in the near future. Sediment removal, we covered that project earlier that Chris presented, and we'll be submitting that grant and keeping our fingers crossed. On our regional planning effort, that's fully state funded. That's where we partner with our regional partners, the Yuba Water Agency and some of the reclamation districts in the area to advance projects and support the Central Valley Flood Protection Board's planning effort, the Central Valley Flood Protection Plan, which gets updated every 5 years. So we're looking to keep that project funded. We're actively lobbying the state for continuous funding for that program, which is very valuable, and it allows a lot of the regions to participate into that planning process so that when the state produces a plan every 5 years, all of our projects, all of our needs are included into that planning process. Next slide, please. Yeah, question. Sure. Yeah, and that's something, Charlie, I could talk to, the Sutter County staff on and get a better understanding. I don't have a good understanding of what the issues are and possible solutions, but I could definitely.
PowerPoint up on the ceiling. One of them sit there like that, and the ceiling.
What I can do is make a call and get a little bit more information and see if we can offer some assistance there.
I know it wouldn't come under our assessment, but if, you know, if there's a means of compensating for the advice and, you know, like we're doing other projects for reclamation, it would provide a real flood control service.
Okay, very good. I will check on that. And this is my last slide here. So FEMA remapping of Sutter County. So FEMA is actually remapping the entire county, not just what we call the Yuba City Basin, the Sabufka jurisdiction. They're mapping the entire county. So they're going from paper maps to digital maps. So they're upgrading. We participated in a meeting with FEMA and Sutter County staff a couple weeks ago now. So the county, FEMA is remapping the entire county, and then they're also reviewing our package that we submitted based on all the levee improvements we completed in the Yuba City Basin. So that effort is going to take FEMA a good 3 to 5 years to complete, and it's just starting right now. So just wanted to keep the board apprised of that. There'll be more to come on that issue in the future. Well, ideally they'll be better. You know, they're actually looking, they in the meeting that we participated in, Chris Fritz and I, and the county staff, FEMA's consultant was asking about certain structures. One was an old abandoned railroad embankment that was shown as a levee and things like that. So they're looking to correct old maps and improve them into the future. So yeah, ideally they'll be much better. Regional Development Impact Fee, that is now effective. So it became effective on Monday, April 8th. So we're partnering with all our member land use agencies and their staff to advance that new program into the future. That new development will pay their fair share into this agency to improve the levees and maintain the capital improvements into the future. If we can't certify or for some reason in the future, we would have money available to do a capital improvement to ensure that we maintain our 200-year level of flood protection for the urban areas. So that's an exciting new program and a new funding source for this agency. We're very proud to have put that in place, and we've gotten great support from all our members on that. So very happy to report that on that. El Nino, so we've been talking about that every month since flood season started, and all of the discussions at the beginning and what this could be, and you just never know what's going to happen, and that's why I think it's very healthy for us to be mindful of what we hear in the news and then just kind of watch what's happening. We partner and communicate closely with all our federal and state partners who manage all the facilities that protect this community. So we're in very close communication with both Army Corps and DWR and our local maintaining agencies to ensure, the public is protected. But at the end of the day, at the end of flood season, it looks like we got an average annual precipitation. We have an average snowpack, which is very healthy. So we're happy about that. But, with potential climate change happening in the future, you don't know, where things, they say you're going to get drier. The dryers are going to get more dry and the wetters are going to get more wet. And we just got to be very diligent and keep our eyes open into the future. And then lastly, I wanted to report to the board, I'll be attending this year's, the 2024 Capital to Capital Federal Advocacy Trip. And I participate in the flood protection program of it. But I wanted Andrea, she's the new chair for this year. So she's the chair of the entire Sac Metro Chamber Cap to Cap trip, which we're going to have over 240 attendees from the region go out to Washington, D.C. and advocate for various programs to make improvements to this community. So I'm going to turn it over to Andrea to just provide a quick brief highlight on that.
The first thing I'll do is correct what you said. You said 240. It's 420.
420, yes.
It's the largest program in its 52-year history. My colleague, Scott Shapiro, continues to lead the flood protection team. So just know that he'll be on the ground in all those flood meetings. Should be a great year. Even though some may say nothing happens in an election year. But we still have a lot of great issues and a lot of good energy, so it should be a good week.
Andrea, what's our big ask for this region that you hope to bring?
Well, on the flood side, I mean, Michael, why don't you talk about the flood?
Yeah, so on the flood side, the FEMA Ag program that we've been advocating for many years, also we're asking for, from a Sabufka standpoint, there's other agencies that are asking for continuous funding for their projects, but from a Sabufka standpoint, we're looking to ensure that the FERO programs and the water control manual updates for all of the reservoirs continue to get funded and those get completed so that all of those reservoir operations are solidified into the future. Those are the two big things from our perspective.
And I'll just add briefly that the program has three kind of big themes, but the top one is infrastructure. That's both infrastructure we can see, transportation, housing, and also the kind of backbone infrastructure like public safety and digital accessibility. So those are, all of the 13 policy teams are accounted for in these big themes, but the top one is infrastructure funding. So that as Sutter County is part of the 6-county region, that's something you should know.
And that's it. So our next board meeting is in May, and the big item next month will be presentation of the preliminary budget to the board, and then we'll come back in June for the adoption of that budget. So with that said, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Yeah, we have a few items, closed session items. So, Andrew, we won't close the meeting until afterwards. We aren't expecting any items to be reported out of closed session. Exact, right? Okay. And who else is going to cap? Mark is, right? Yes. Who else? Anybody else on this board? And Matt? Good.
We're going to try to work on this FEMA flood map and the FEMA flood insurance program is, for farmers, it's not very viable program. For example, every structure has to have its own policy. You can have them 10 feet apart, and you have to have so we want to have a bundling program. We've been shooting for that for years. I think we're moving slowly that direction, but the federal government moves very slowly.
Really? Okay. With that, I guess everyone should leave with the exception of Andrea. Is that right? I mean, the board members have to stay.
Yeah.